Welcome to Digital Learning, an initiative by Directorate of Collegiate Education. In this session, we shall have a look at the characterization and themes of the short story The Last Leaf prescribed for first semester BCom Language English. I am Nandana NG, Assistant Professor of English. The contents of this session are learning objectives. By now, the student must be familiar. The learning objective tries to give us an outline as to what are the things that we can look ahead. What can the student intend, or what is it that the student can learn from this session? Session outcome: has the student been able to learn what the objectives have stated, is what the session outcome is, or what the student has learned at the end of the session. Recap of previous knowledge. This recap is quite an essential step, in fact, because based on what we have learned in the previous session, we will be able to understand the present session better, and we'll also be able to link it with the future sessions. And then next we move to the characterization. We shall try to define characterization and see characterization in the context of the last leaf. And then we move towards themes. We'll try to define themes and then the themes relevant in the last leaf, recapitulation, and then we'll assess ourselves with a course of multiple choice questions. Learning objectives. What is characterization? Characterization in the last leaf, and then the student can learn what is theme or the definition of theme and what are the themes of the last leaf. So the learning objectives are quite clear. In the course of this, we'll try to define characterization in the last leaf, definition of theme, and the themes of the last leaf. The session outcome: the student will be able to define characterization. He will be able to identify characterization in the text or in the story, the definition of a theme, or try to define theme and try to determine the various themes in the text. Please note the difference there. More than one theme can be present in the story. Let us try to first recapitulate what we learned in the previous session or the presentation there. We actually had a session dealing with the literary elements of the plot. So according to that, in exposition of the last leaf, Sue and John Z meet in a restaurant and decide to stay together in a studio at Greenwich Village. In fact, that is the setting, that is where it all starts. And then the conflict arrives. John Z gets sick with pneumonia and she loses the will to live. And the rising action, we can see that John Z is adamant that when the last leaf falls, she will die. The events that increase their conflict are: the doctor who visits them predicts that John Z won't have much chance of a survival if she doesn't find the will to live. In the climax, or in the climatic, or the most in peak of the action, when morning arrives, John Z finds that the leaf is still on the vine. In fact, that is a climatic moment even for the reader there. And in the falling action, John Z finally realizes that she was wrong to anticipate her death. Due to her newfound will to live, she gets better from her sickness. And in the last resolution, where all things are cleared or things fall into place, old Bahram dies from pneumonia sadly, but due to his great sacrifice in painting the leaf, which becomes his masterpiece, which in turn gives John Z the hope to live. Now let us try to define characterization. As the word itself says, characters. Characters means the various people who enter the story and take the story along further due to their interaction. The Kannada word of character would be patradarigalu. In fact, the interaction between the characters is what progresses the story. Characterization is a literary tool which was coined in the mid 15th century. Characterization is a literary device which highlights and explains the details about a character in a story. The art of the artist lies in the way he sketches the character. After introducing the character, the writer often talks about his behavior. As the story progresses, the thought processes of the characters are revealed. In fact, it can also be said that according to the author, the characters that he creates are the mouthpiece through which he conveys the message that he intends to give. If he had maybe just written a book saying that sacrifice is the most important thing, maybe nobody would have taken it seriously. But O. Henry framed a short story, he created characters, and through the characters, he showed that sacrifice is a theme. Characterization in the last leaf. The primary characters, we are familiar with them by now. The primary characters are Johnsy, Sue, two young girls interested to become artists, Bahram, the old painter who sacrifices his life, and then we come across the doctor, who is another primary character. Let us try to analyze the primary characters here. The first primary character is Johnsy. In fact, her name is Joanna, but she prefers to go by Johnsy. She came to New York from California to be an artist. She lives with Sue in a studio apartment in Greenwich Village. She has long dreamed of visiting Italy to paint the Bay of Naples. But then destiny strikes, she falls seriously ill with pneumonia. She is very convinced that she will die when the last leaf falls from the vine outside her window. In fact, look at the irony there. She isn't determined to live. She has made up her mind, or she is determined that she will die. In fact, this is what we say, creativity should be used for positive things. The doctor feels Johnsy's hopelessness and her acceptance of death is a primary obstacle to her recovery. However, in the end, she realizes her foolishness and regains her will to live. The second primary character is Sue. Sue is Johnsy's best friend. These two girls are staying together. Sue is a young artist, but she is from Maine. In fact, the entire story is narrated from a third person perspective, but then the point of view stays closest to Sue. In fact, we can say that the entire story is narrated through the eyes of Sue. Sue is very close to Johnsy. In fact, more than a friend, she cooks, cares, and financially supports Johnsy in her illness. When the doctor visits, Sue tells him firmly that Johnsy is not depressed because of a man. But then she tries unsuccessfully to bring Johnsy out of her depression. She is more than a sister there. After Johnsy recovers, Sue informs her that Bahram has died of pneumonia. Sue is a symbol of a friend in need is a friend indeed. So we can say that O. Henry has tried to convey the message of importance of friendship, and hence he has created the character of Sue, which reflects this aspect. Behram. Behram is an old and cantankerous artist who lived downstairs. Cantankerous means somebody who is very cranky all the time, miserable, and makes sure the others around them are also miserable. Behram had become like that. But then he was an artist who lived downstairs. He had been painting for 4 decades without any success, but he still hopes to paint what he calls his masterpiece. He is an alcoholic, or maybe he has become an alcoholic due to the miserable circumstances he is in, but then he earns money by posing as a model for artists in the neighborhood. Some source of income is required, or else how else can he support his alcoholism? Though he has a gruff exterior, yet he has a soft spot for Sue and Johnsy. Initially, he is dismissive of the idea that leaves on a vine affect Johnsy's health, but then he realizes the seriousness when he looks at Johnsy. He eventually goes outside on a stormy night to paint a realistic looking leaf onto the wall outside her window, so that she will think one last leaf has miraculously survived the storm. As a result of his great sacrifice, he catches pneumonia and dies. Sue remarks that he has finally painted his masterpiece. The fourth primary character is the doctor. The doctor is a busy older man with shaggy grey eyebrows who attends to Johnsy and Behram. He diagnoses Johnsy with mental as well as physical illness. Pneumonia has struck Johnsy. It is the body which is under duress because of the pneumonia, but our mental strength has come down due to that. The doctor also tells Sue that he cannot help a patient with medicine when the patient herself doesn't want to get better. He is skeptical. Skeptical means doubtful of the idea that unfulfilled artistic ambitions is the cause of Johnsy's depression. But then, according to him, maybe he is quite old fashioned. He asks Sue whether Johnsy is depressed over a man. In the end, he visits Johnsy again after she has recovered and gives us a good prognosis when he looks at Johnsy becoming hopeful and the determination to live. He is the one who informs Sue that Behram is dying of pneumonia. Now let us try to define theme. Definition of a theme. Theme is a main idea or an underlying meaning of a literary work which may be stated directly or indirectly. Or we can say that the theme is the main idea. What is it that it is trying to say? The main crux, the main idea, the main concept of the entire work. But then it can be stated directly or indirectly. So in that context, Themes can be of two types, major and minor themes. A major theme is an idea that a writer repeats in his literary work, a significant idea in the work, while a minor theme is an idea that appears in a work briefly. It gives way to other minor themes also. But then remember, in any work of art for that matter, multiple themes can be present. A major theme, many minor themes, etc. can be present. Let us try to assess the themes, various themes that are reflected in the short story, The Last Leaf. The first and foremost, love and friendship. The love and friendship as depicted between the two friends, Johnsy and Sue. Sue supports Johnsy morally when she falls ill. We can also see Sue's efforts to bring Johnsy back towards life and her optimism, but then it fails. We also see with the help, in fact, Sue, the way she supports Johnsy, how friendship and relationship is a succor during crisis. Succor is nothing but something which gives you that consolation, a healing power. So in the story, we can say that Sue is the succor or somebody who is trying to give that healing aspect to Johnsy. Thus, friendship is such a relationship that it is completed with the ties of sacrifice, sincerity, love, loyalties, etc. Death. Death is another prominent theme that is reflected in the story. The title, The Last Leaf, conveys the theme of death. In fact, the significance of the title can be seen right here. The word last means at the end, at the very end. In fact, it means very close to death or closely to the end. Here, the word last also refers to the obsession of Johnsy with the leaf that is about to fall, the last leaf, wherein she comes to the conclusion when the last leaf falls, her last breath also will stop. Leaves are falling in the story due to the autumn season. In literature, autumn is considered a mortal season where everything withers, all life comes to an end. Johnsy fell ill due to pneumonia, and pneumonia is seen as a symbol of death for the human beings, and old Bahram dies of it. The next important theme is pessimism and optimism. The entire universe is based on two opposite things or binaries as they are known. Remember, where there are always opposites. If there is day, day is not forever. After day, night comes. So if it is day, then it is night on the other hand. Likewise, black, white, good, bad, hope, frustration, etc. The list is endless. Binaries can be seen everywhere. Likewise, optimism and pessimism are two sides of a single coin. While pessimism deals with the darker aspects of life, optimism is against pessimism and it deals with the positive ways of life. Throughout the story, we can see Johnsy's pessimistic attitude. In fact, she has made up her life a will to die. But then we see optimism winning over pessimism in the character of Bahram. Self-sacrifice. Mr. Bahram has sacrificed his own life to give to dedicate his life to Johnsy. His masterpiece, or The Last Leaf, shows his self-sacrificing, kind and noble nature. Though he catches pneumonia and dies, yet he made sure that he did not let Johnsy die. Bahram symbolizes the sacrificing nature of man. The message that is very clearly given here is that self-sacrifice is a great deed. One has to be kind and gentle towards others. Hope. Hope is a major theme in The Last Leaf. The doctor conveys hope and positive approach in Leaf. State of mind. Please remember, not only from the context of the story, the state of mind is nothing but what we feel. For example, today you have achieved something, you are feeling very happy. It's your state of mind. But remember, happiness is not forever. You can't be happy forever. Likewise, tomorrow something might go wrong. You will be sad, depressed. Remember, that is again a state of mind. Sadness or depression also is not forever. The state of mind is a temporary thing. Please remember this. Our state of mind should not rule our lives. A state of mind, yes, it is temporary. After good days, bad days also follow. So for worse or better for our lives, in our lives. The significance of the leaf, it is nothing but the hope of life for a tree or a plant. When Johnsy sees the painted leaf against the wall through the window, she says, "Something has made that last leaf stay there to show me how wicked I was. It is a sin to want to die. Hope is what keeps mankind alive." Let us try to recapitulate whatever we have learned in this session. Characterization is a literary device to highlight and explain the details about a character in a story. The character sketch of Johnsy, Sue, Doctor and Bahram were dealt in detail. Theme is defined as the main idea or an underlying meaning of a literary work which may be stated directly or indirectly. The various themes in the last leaf: love and friendship, death, pessimism and optimism, self sacrifice, and hope can be seen. Now, let us try to assess ourselves, our knowledge of what we have gained through the course of this presentation with these simple multiple choice questions. The little lady mentioned by the doctor refers to Johnsy, Sue, both, or none of the above. Obviously, the answer is Johnsy. Sue and Johnsy were artists. True or false? Of course, it's true, because due to their common passion of art, they started staying together. What was Johnsy counting? Remember, Johnsy was lying down when she was sick. In fact, right next to her bed, there was a window, and she kept looking outside and she was counting something. What was that? Clouds, stars, snowflakes, or leaves of the ivy vine? The answer is the leaves of the ivy vine, which were right next to her window. What was Bahram's dream? Was it to become rich, to get married, to paint his masterpiece, or none of the above? The answer is to paint his masterpiece. Johnsy and Sue were surprised to find that, in spite of the storm and gusty wind, the single ivy leaf had withered, the single ivy leaf had fallen, the single ivy leaf had clung to the vine, or the single ivy leaf was destroyed. By now, we are very familiar with what happened actually in the end. The single ivy leaf still clung to the vine. References: